I didn't see the car until it was too late. The rain came down in sheets, blurring the neon signs of the bodega on the corner and turning the Brooklyn street into a river of oil and broken glass. My sneakers slapped against the pavement, soaked through, useless. Behind me, Marcus's voice cut through the storm like a knife. "Isla, get back here!" I didn't look back. I never looked back anymore. My lungs burned. My ribs ached from where he'd shoved me against the kitchen counter an hour ago, hard enough to leave a bruise shaped like his knuckles. I'd grabbed my phone, my keys, nothing else. Just ran. The black SUV came out of nowhere. It swerved in front of me, blocking the crosswalk, and I skidded to a stop so fast I nearly fell. Water sprayed up from the tires. The windows were tinted dark, impenetrable. For a second, I thought it was Marcus thought he'd called someone, sent someone after me. Then the back door opened. "Get in." The voice was low, controlled, and absolutely not Marcus. I stood frozen, rain plastering my hair to my face, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Through the open door, I could see expensive leather seats, the glow of interior lights, and a man sitting in shadow. He wore a dark suit, perfectly tailored. His hand rested on his knee, calm, still, like he had all the time in the world. "You're bleeding," he said. I touched my lip. My fingers came away red. I hadn't even noticed. Behind me, Marcus's footsteps grew louder. I heard him shouting my name again, closer now, and my body made the decision before my brain could catch up. I got in. The door slammed shut. The driver pulled away before I even had my seatbelt on, smooth and fast, like we were gliding on glass instead of cracked asphalt. I pressed myself against the far door, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might crack a rib. The man beside me didn't move. Up close, I could see him better. Dark hair, swept back, sharp jaw, eyes that looked black in the dim light, but I thought maybe they were just very deep brown. He was watching me the way a predator watches prey, not hungrily, but with absolute focus. "Who are you?" My voice came out smaller than I wanted. "Someone who doesn't like seeing women chased through the rain." He spoke quietly, but there was weight behind every word. Authority, danger. I swallowed. "You don't know what you just did." "I know exactly what I did." He leaned forward slightly, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne, something dark, woody, understated. "The question is whether you do." I stared at him. "I don't understand." "That man." He gestured toward the window, where Marcus was now a distant figure on the sidewalk, growing smaller. "He put his hands on you." It wasn't a question. "That's none of your business," I said, but my voice shook. His gaze never wavered. "It is now." The driver turned down a street I didn't recognize. The buildings here were different, older, made of stone instead of brick. Iron gates, security cameras. This wasn't my neighborhood anymore. "Where are we going?" Panic crept into my chest. "Somewhere safe." "I don't know you." I reached for the door handle. "Let me out." "No." The word was absolute. Final. I yanked on the handle anyway. Locked. "Relax," he said, and somehow that made it worse. "If I wanted to hurt you, I wouldn't have stopped the car. Then what do you want?" He tilted his head, studying me like I was a puzzle he was deciding whether to solve. "Your name." I hesitated. Giving him my name felt like giving him power, but sitting in silence felt worse. "Isla." "Isla," he repeated, and the way he said it made my skin prickle. Like he was memorizing it. "I'm Dante." No last name, no explanation. The car slowed, turning into an underground garage. The gate rolled shut behind us with a heavy clang that echoed off the concrete walls. My pulse spiked. Dante opened his door and stepped out, smooth and unhurried. He waited. I didn't move. He leaned down, one hand on the roof of the car, his face level with mine through the open door. "You can stay in the car if you want, but your ex knows your address. He knows where you work. He knows every place you run to." My stomach twisted. "I don't," Dante continued, "and neither does anyone else who might come looking. Why are you helping me?" For the first time, something flickered across his face. Not quite a smile, but close. "Maybe I'm not." He straightened and walked toward a steel door at the far end of the garage. After 3 steps, he stopped and looked back. "Coming?" I should have stayed in the car. Should have demanded he take me to a police station, a hospital, anywhere public, anywhere with witnesses. But Marcus knew all those places too. I got out. Dante's expression didn't change, but I saw something in his eyes, approval, maybe, or possession. He held the door open for me, and I stepped through into a dim hallway that smelled like leather and old money. The door locked behind us with a soft click. "Welcome, Isla," Dante said quietly, his voice echoing off the walls. "You're under my protection now." And for the first time since I'd started running, I wasn't sure if I'd just been saved or captured. The elevator didn't have buttons. I stared at the polished brass panel where numbers should have been, my reflection distorted and strange. Dante stood beside me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body, but he didn't touch me, didn't speak. The elevator rose in silence. "Where are we?" I asked. "My building." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you need right now." The doors opened onto a penthouse that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, rain streaming down the glass in rivulets that caught the lights from below. The furniture was modern, expensive, all clean lines, and dark leather. A fireplace burned low in the corner, casting shadows across the marble floor. It was beautiful. It felt like a trap. Dante shrugged off his suit jacket and draped it over the back of a chair. Beneath it, he wore a black dress shirt, with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. I could see ink curling up his left forearm, some kind of intricate design I couldn't make out from where I stood. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the couch. I didn't move. I should go. Where? The question landed like a punch. Because he was right. I couldn't go home. Marcus had a key. Couldn't go to my sister's. He knew that address too. Couldn't even go to a hotel. Not with $17 in my checking account and a maxed-out credit card. Dante watched me realize it, his expression unreadable. "Sit," he said again. Softer this time. I sat. He disappeared into another room and returned with a first aid kit, setting it on the glass coffee table between us. Then he poured 2 fingers of amber liquid into a crystal glass and held it out. "Whiskey," he said. "For the shock." "I don't drink. Tonight you do." I took the glass. Our fingers brushed, and I felt that same electric jolt I'd felt in the car, something dangerous and alive. I took a sip. It burned going down, but the warmth spread through my chest, loosening something tight inside me. Dante sat across from me, leaning back with his arms spread along the top of the couch. He looked relaxed, but I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes never stopped moving, tracking the elevator, the windows, the hallway leading deeper into the penthouse. Like he was always ready for something. "Let me see your face," he said. I touched my split lip reflexively. "It's fine. It's bleeding." I said it's fine. His jaw tightened, but he didn't push. Instead, he opened the first aid kit and pulled out antiseptic and gauze, setting them on the table in front of me. "Why did you help me?" I asked. "I already told you." "No. You gave me a line. I want the real reason." Dante leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and for the first time I saw something raw flicker across his face. "Because I know what it looks like when someone's running out of places to run." The words hung between us, heavy with meaning I couldn't quite grasp. "Who are you?" I asked quietly. "Really, someone you should probably be afraid of." "I am afraid." "Good." He held my gaze. "That means you're smart." My phone buzzed in my pocket once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. I didn't have to look to know it was Marcus. Dante's eyes flicked to my pocket, then back to my face. "He's persistent. He always is." My voice cracked. "He'll find me. He always finds me." "Not here, he won't. You don't know Marcus. He doesn't give up. I don't need to know Marcus." Dante's voice went cold, controlled. "Men like him are all the same. They pick victims they think can't fight back. They thrive on fear." He paused. "But fear only works when you're alone. And I'm not alone anymore?" The question came out sharper than I intended. "I don't even know you. For all I know, you're worse than he is." Something dangerous flashed in Dante's eyes. "I am worse than he is." The air left my lungs. He stood slowly, moving to the window, his back to me. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. "But I don't hurt women. I don't chase them through the rain or put my hands on them when they say no." He turned to face me. "What I do is eliminate threats, permanently." My heart stuttered. "What does that mean?" "It means Marcus is no longer your problem. You can't just..." I stood, the glass trembling in my hand. "You can't kill someone because of me. I didn't say I was going to kill him." Dante crossed the room in 3 strides, stopping close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. I said, "He's no longer your problem. There's a difference." "What difference?" Whether he walks away or not depends entirely on whether he's smart enough to take the warning. I couldn't breathe. The room felt too small, too hot. This is insane. This is survival. Dante reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and touched my chin with 2 fingers, gentle, careful. And you're going to learn the difference. His thumb brushed the corner of my split lip, so light I barely felt it, but my whole body went rigid. Not from fear this time, from something else entirely. Get some sleep, Isla. He stepped back, breaking the contact. Guest room's down the hall, second door on the left. Lock it if it makes you feel safer. Will it? Make me safer? He smiled, then a real smile, small and devastating. No. But it might make you feel better. Then he walked away, disappearing into the shadows of the penthouse, leaving me standing alone by the window, with my heart racing, and the taste of expensive whiskey burning on my torn lip, and the terrible realization that I didn't want to leave. I didn't sleep. I lay in the guest room bed, which was larger and more comfortable than any bed I'd ever owned, and stared at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the penthouse. The rain against the windows, the distant hum of the city below, and somewhere deeper in the apartment, the low murmur of Dante's voice on the phone. I couldn't make out the words, but I heard the tone. Cold, commanding, final. Whether he walks away or not depends entirely on whether he's smart enough to take the warning. I pulled the blanket tighter around myself, though I wasn't cold. The guest room had its own fireplace, controlled by a panel on the wall. Everything here was controlled, calculated, expensive, just like the man who owned it. Around 3 a.m, I gave up on sleep and ventured out into the hallway. The penthouse was dark, except for a single light coming from what looked like a study. I moved toward it without thinking, my bare feet silent on the hardwood. Dante sat behind a massive desk, his shirt unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves still rolled up. He was reading something on a tablet, his face illuminated by the blue-white glow. A glass of whiskey sat untouched at his elbow. He looked up the moment I appeared in the doorway. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Can you?" "I don't sleep much." He set the tablet down. Old habit. I stayed in the doorway, uncertain. "I heard you on the phone." "I know. What did you do?" Dante leaned back in his chair, studying me. "I made it clear that touching you again would be a mistake Marcus couldn't afford to make." "How?" "You don't want to know the details." "Yes," I said quietly. "I do." He was silent for a long moment, then gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Close the door." I hesitated, then stepped inside and pushed the door shut behind me. The click of the latch felt significant, like I'd just crossed some invisible line. I sat down, folding my hands in my lap to keep them from shaking. Dante watched me with those dark, unreadable eyes. Marcus Delgado, 29. Works at a shipping company in Red Hook, at least. That's what he tells people. Really, he moves stolen goods for the Rossi family. Small-time stuff, cigarettes, electronics. My stomach dropped. "How do you know all that?" "Because I make it my business to know." He picked up his whiskey, swirled it once, set it back down without drinking. "And because the Rossis work for me." The room tilted. "Work for you," I repeated numbly. "I own this city, Isla. Not officially, but in every way that matters." He said it simply, like he was telling me the weather. "The Rossis answer to me, which means Marcus answers to me, and as of an hour ago he understands that you are under my protection." I couldn't breathe. "You're Mafia," he said the word I couldn't. Yes. Everything clicked into place. The expensive penthouse, the car with tinted windows, the way he moved, the way he spoke, like someone who'd never heard the word no and lived. "I should leave," I whispered. "Where would you go?" That question again. The one I still didn't have an answer to. Dante stood and moved around the desk, perching on the edge of it directly in front of me. Close enough to touch, but he kept his hands on the polished wood surface. "You think I'm dangerous," he said. "You just told me you run the Mafia." "I told you I own the city. There's a difference." He tilted his head. "I don't deal drugs to kids. I don't traffic people. I don't put my hands on women who can't fight back." His voice went quieter. "I enforce order in a world that has none. That's not the same as being good." "No," he agreed. "It's not." I looked up at him, this beautiful, terrifying man who'd pulled me out of the rain and into something I didn't understand. "Why me?" "I saw you running." He said it so softly I almost didn't hear. And I remembered what it was like. What was like. For a moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then he reached up and unbuttoned his shirt further, pulling the fabric aside to reveal his left shoulder. A scar. Long, jagged, old. The kind that told a story of violence survived. "My father gave me this when I was 16, Dante said, with a broken bottle. Because I stood between him and my mother one too many times." My breath caught. He buttoned his shirt again, covering the scar, his movements precise. "So when I saw you running tonight with blood on your lip and terror in your eyes, I didn't see a stranger, Isla. I saw someone who needed what I needed back then." He paused. A way out. The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open inside me. This wasn't the cold, controlled man from the car. This was someone else, someone real and damaged, and trying to pretend he wasn't. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Don't be sorry." He reached out slowly and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, his fingers lingering for just a second against my jaw. "Be smart. Stay here. Let me handle Marcus. And when you're ready, we'll figure out what comes next." His hand dropped away, but I could still feel the ghost of his touch burning against my skin. "What if I'm never ready?" I asked. Dante smiled, that small, devastating smile that made my heart stutter. "Then I'll wait." He moved back to his chair, putting distance between us again, and picked up his tablet like the moment had never happened. But I saw his hand shake slightly before he steadied it. I stood on unsteady legs. "Good night, Dante." "Good night, Isla." I made it to the door before his voice stopped me. "Isla?" I turned. "Lock your door if you want, but know that I'm the most dangerous thing in this building." His eyes found mine, and I'd burn the city down before I let anyone hurt you. It should have terrified me. Instead, I felt safer than I had in years. I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of voices. Sunlight streamed through the guest room windows, harsh and unforgiving. I'd finally fallen asleep sometime after dawn, and now my body ached with the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that came from running on adrenaline too long. I checked my phone. 23 missed calls from Marcus, 17 texts, each one angrier than the last. Then, around 4 in the morning, they stopped. My hands shook as I scrolled through them. "You can't hide from me. I'll find you. You're mine, Isla." Then nothing. Radio silence for the past 6 hours. I pulled on the clothes I'd worn last night, still damp, still smelling like rain and fear, and followed the voices to the main living area. Dante stood by the windows with 2 men I didn't recognize. One was older, gray-haired, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than my rent. The other was younger, built like a boxer, with a scar running through his left eyebrow. They all stopped talking when I appeared. "Isla." Dante's voice was professional, distant. Nothing like the man who'd shown me his scar last night. "This is Vincent and Marco. They work for me." Vincent nodded politely. Marco just stared. "We'll finish this later," Dante said to them. It wasn't a suggestion. They left without a word, disappearing into the elevator. The doors closed, and we were alone again. "Coffee?" Dante asked, already pouring a cup from a French press on the counter. "What was that about?" "Business." He handed me the cup. "You take it black?" "Dante." He sighed, setting down the press. "Marcus tried to come here last night, around 5 a.m. The cup nearly slipped from my hands." "What?" "He didn't get past the lobby. Building security is very good." Dante's voice was calm, but I saw something dark flicker in his eyes. "But he made enough noise that we had to get the police involved." "The police?" "Corrupt as hell, most of them, but useful." He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "They escorted him home. Strongly suggested he stay there." I set the cup down, my hands shaking too hard to hold it. "He knows where I am. He knows you're in this building. He doesn't know which floor, which unit, and he won't get close enough to find out. You don't understand. Marcus doesn't care about security or police, or he cares about his legs." The words were so cold, so casual, that it took me a moment to process them. "What did you do?" I whispered. Dante pushed off the counter and moved closer. "I had Marco deliver a message. Very clear, very visual." He paused. "Marcus was shown what happens to people who ignore my warnings. Did you?" "No one died, Isla. But someone did learn that threats have consequences." I backed up a step. "You hurt someone. I protected you. By hurting someone else." "Yes. No hesitation. No apology. That's how this works." "You think Marcus would have stopped because I asked nicely? You think he'd respect boundaries or restraining orders?" Dante's jaw tightened. Men like him only understand one language. Violence. Power. He stepped closer. And fear. I wanted to run, wanted to grab my phone and my shoes and get as far from this beautiful, terrifying man as possible. But where would I go? Back to my apartment where Marcus had a key? To my sister's where he'd already shown up twice? I was trapped. Not by locked doors or guards, but by the simple, brutal truth that Dante was right. I had nowhere else to go. I need clothes, I said quietly. And my things. From my apartment, already handled. Dante nodded toward the hallway. Second bedroom. Everything you'll need for the next few days. You went through my apartment? Marco did. This morning while you were sleeping. He was very discreet. I stared at him. You can't just... I can. He said it gently, but the steel underneath was unmistakable. And I did. Because you're under my protection now, which means you don't take unnecessary risks. Like going back to a place where your abuser has access. I'm not a prisoner. No, you're not. Dante moved closer. So close I could smell his cologne again, that dark, expensive scent that made my head spin. You can leave whenever you want, Isla. Walk out that door right now. I won't stop you. Really. Really. His eyes held mine. But I will have someone follow you. To make sure you're safe. That's the same as being a prisoner. No. It's being protected whether you like it or not. My phone buzzed. We both looked at it lying on the counter. A new text from an unknown number. Tell your boyfriend he made a mistake. Dante picked up my phone, read the message, and his expression went completely blank. That emptiness was somehow more terrifying than anger would have been. What? I asked. He's escalating. Dante typed something quickly, then set the phone down. I need to make a call. Stay here. Dante. Stay. Here. He disappeared into his study, and I heard his voice through the door low, rapid, controlled, giving orders. I sank onto the couch, my legs suddenly weak. Through the windows, the city stretched out below, beautiful and indifferent. Somewhere out there, Marcus was planning something, and somewhere in this penthouse, Dante was planning something back, and I was caught in the middle, protected by a man who scared me almost as much as the one I was running from. The difference was, I was starting to trust the fear Dante inspired, because unlike Marcus's rage, Dante's danger felt like it was pointed away from me, like a weapon I didn't have to hold, but could hide behind. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. You can't hide forever, Isla. I deleted it without responding, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Dante didn't come out of his study for 3 hours. I showered in the guest bathroom, marble and glass and water pressure that felt like heaven, and changed into the clothes Marco had brought. Jeans that actually fit. A soft sweater, clean underwear that made me realize just how little I'd been living with. Everything from my apartment was neatly folded in the second bedroom closet. My books, my laptop. Even the framed photo of my mother I kept on my nightstand. Marco had been thorough. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to read, when Dante finally emerged. He looked tired, the kind of tired that lived behind the eyes, not on the face. We need to leave, he said. I set the book down. What? Marcus contacted the Rossis directly. Claimed I overstepped, that this was a personal matter. Dante grabbed his jacket from the chair. They're holding a sit-down tonight. I need to be there. A sit-down? A meeting. To settle disputes before they become wars. He checked his watch. And you're coming with me? No. I stood. Absolutely not. It's not negotiable, Isla. If I leave you here alone, Marcus will see it as an opening. He needs to see that you're under my direct protection. That touching you means going through me. So I'm what? A prop? You're the reason this is happening at all. His voice softened slightly. I'm not letting you out of my sight until this is resolved. 20 minutes later, we were in the back of the SUV again, driving through streets I didn't recognize. Dante sat beside me, close enough that our shoulders touched whenever the car turned. He'd been quiet since we left, his jaw tight, his fingers drumming once against his thigh before he forced them still. What happens at these meetings? I asked. We talk, we negotiate, we reach an understanding. And if you don't? He looked at me. We will. The car pulled up to a restaurant in Little Italy, the kind with no sign, just an address and a red door. Dante got out first, then offered me his hand. I took it before I could think better of it, and his fingers closed around mine, warm and solid. Stay close to me, he murmured. Don't speak unless spoken to. And don't be afraid. I'm terrified. I know. He squeezed my hand once. But don't show it. Inside, the restaurant was dimly lit, all dark wood and low ceilings. It smelled like garlic and wine and old money. A man in a suit led us through the empty dining room to a private room in the back. 5 men sat around a table. I recognized Vincent from this morning. The others were strangers, older, harder, wearing their power like second skin. And at the far end, looking small and out of place, was Marcus. His face was bruised, his lips split. When he saw me, something vicious flashed in his eyes. Dante's hand moved to my lower back, a subtle claim. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice filling the room. "Thank you for accommodating this meeting on short notice." The man at the head of the table, silver-haired, wearing a ring on every finger, gestured to 2 empty chairs. "Dante, please, sit." We sat. Dante kept his hand on the back of my chair, his thumb brushing my shoulder blade through my sweater. The touch was possessive, protective. "Mr. Delgado has brought a complaint," Silverhair said. "He claims you've interfered in a domestic matter, threatened him over a personal relationship." "Domestic matter," Dante repeated, his voice cold. "Is that what we're calling assault now, Paolo?" Paolo's eyes flicked to me, to my fading bruises. "Is this true, miss?" I opened my mouth, but Dante spoke first. "Don't answer that." He leaned forward. "This isn't a trial." Marcus put his hands on someone under my protection. "The only question is whether he's smart enough to understand why that was a mistake." "She's my girlfriend," Marcus snapped. "You can't just—" "She's not your anything." Dante's voice went deadly quiet. "Not anymore." The room fell silent. Paolo steepled his fingers. "This is unusual, Dante. You've never involved yourself in matters like this before. I'm involving myself now." "Why?" Dante's thumb moved against my shoulder, barely perceptible. "Because some things are worth breaking pattern for." I felt every eye in the room on me. My face burned, but I kept my expression neutral, the way Dante had told me to. Paolo studied us for a long moment, then turned to Marcus. "You work for the Rossis. The Rossis work for Dante. That makes you what? 3 steps down the chain?" He shook his head. "You should have walked away." "She's mine," Marcus said again, desperation creeping into his voice. "She was never yours," Dante said softly. "She was just someone who hadn't found a way out yet." Paolo stood. "This matter is settled. Mr. Delgado, you will not contact Miss—" He looked at me expectantly. "Rivera," I whispered. "Miss Rivera. You will not contact her, approach her, or speak about her. Consider this a professional courtesy to Dante, who has been very generous in not asking for more permanent solutions." Marcus's face went white. "You can't—" "We can," Paolo said simply. "And we have. This meeting is over." Vincent and another man stood, flanking Marcus. They escorted him out, his protests fading down the hallway. When they were gone, Paolo turned to Dante. "You're playing a dangerous game." "I always do. Not like this. Not with your heart showing." Dante's hand tightened slightly on my shoulder. "My heart is none of your concern, Paolo." The older man smiled. "Just make sure it doesn't become your weakness." We left the restaurant 10 minutes later. In the car, Dante sat close enough that I could feel him breathing. "Is it over?" I asked. "For now. And later?" He looked at me, and something in his eyes made my breath catch. "Later we deal with the fact that you're not safe anywhere except with me." "That sounds like a different kind of danger." "It is," he said quietly. "But at least it's one you can survive." We didn't go back to the penthouse. "Safe house," Dante said when I asked. "Just for tonight. Until I'm certain Marcus understands the terms." The building was in Queens, nondescript brick, with a security gate that required 3 different codes to open. The apartment itself was smaller than the penthouse, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that looked like it had never been used, but it had reinforced doors and windows that didn't open, a cage disguised as safety. Dante checked every room twice, his movements efficient and practiced. When he was satisfied, he finally took off his jacket and loosened his tie. "There's food in the fridge," he said. "Bathroom stocked. You should try to get some rest." "Where will you be?" "Here," he gestured to the couch. "Keeping watch. You can't stay up all night." "I've done it before." He poured himself a drink from a bottle in the kitchen whiskey again. Always whiskey. "Go to bed, Isla." But I didn't move. Something had shifted in the restaurant. Some invisible line we'd crossed when Paolo said Dante's heart was showing. I'd seen the way Dante's hand had tightened on my shoulder, the way his voice had gone soft when he said I was worth breaking pattern for. Why did you really help me? I asked. He took a long drink. I already told you. You told me a story about your father, about seeing yourself in me. I moved closer. But that's not all of it, is it? Dante set down his glass. What do you want me to say? The truth. For a long moment, he just looked at me. Then he laughed a short, bitter sound. You want the truth? Fine. I saw you running in the rain and something in my chest cracked open. I haven't felt anything in so long, Isla. Years of building walls, of making myself into something cold and untouchable. And then there you were, terrified and bleeding and still fighting, and I felt everything at once. My breath caught. So yes, he continued, his voice rough. I helped you because I saw myself in you. But I kept you because I'm selfish. Because for the first time in my life, I wanted something that wasn't about power or territory or revenge. He stepped closer. I wanted you safe. I wanted you near me. He stopped himself, jaw clenching. What? I whispered. Things I have no right to want. The air between us felt electric, dangerous. I should have stepped back. Should have put distance between us and the impossible things he was saying. Instead, I moved closer. Dante, don't. His voice was strained. Don't look at me like that. Like what? Like you're not afraid of me anymore. Maybe I'm not. You should be. But even as he said it, his hand came up, fingers hovering near my face like he wanted to touch me but didn't dare. I'm exactly what you're running from, Isla, just in a different suit. No, you're not. I hurt people. I give orders that end lives. I run an empire built on fear and violence. His hand finally made contact, cupping my jaw so gently it made my heart ache. How is that different from Marcus? Because you asked first, I said, leaning into his touch. Before you touched me, you gave me time to say no. Marcus never did that. Not once. Something broke in his expression. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone, and I saw his control fracturing. I can't promise you normal, he said quietly. I can't give you safe or simple, or any of the things you deserve. I don't want normal. The words surprised me as much as they surprised him. Normal got me, Marcus. Normal got me trapped and terrified and running. If that's what normal looks like, I don't want it. Then what do you want? I looked up at him, this beautiful, damaged man who'd pulled me out of the rain and into something infinitely more complicated. I don't know yet, but I think I want to find out. Dante's other hand came up, framing my face between his palms. This is a mistake, probably. I'm going to hurt you. Maybe not like he did, but I will. This life, my life, it destroys soft things. Then maybe I need to stop being soft. He smiled at that, sad and devastating. You don't know what you're asking for, so show me. For 1 heartbeat, 2. He just held me. Then he leaned down and kissed me soft, careful, nothing like I expected. His lips barely brushed mine, a question instead of a claim. I answered by rising on my toes and kissing him back. The gentleness shattered. Dante's arms wrapped around me, pulling me flush against him as the kiss deepened, turned hungry. His hand tangled in my hair, tilting my head back, and I felt the tremor that ran through him, control slipping, carefully constructed walls crumbling. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Isla, don't apologize. I pressed my fingers to his lips. Don't you dare apologize. He caught my hand, kissed my palm, his eyes dark and conflicted. You should hate me for this. For dragging you into my world. Maybe. I traced the line of his jaw. But I don't. You will. Eventually. Then I guess you'll have to give me reasons not to. He pulled me close again, resting his forehead against mine. This changes everything. I know. Marcus won't be the only threat now. There are people who will see you as a weakness, a way to get to me. Then we'll deal with them. We, he repeated, like the word was foreign, then softer. We. He kissed me again, slower this time, and I felt the promise in it, the claim, the terrible, wonderful truth that I'd stopped running from one dangerous man and walked straight into the arms of another. But this time, I was choosing it. This time, I was choosing him. I woke to silence. The safe house bedroom was dark, the curtains drawn tight against the morning light. For a moment, I forgot where I was, forgot everything except the ghost of Dante's lips on mine, the way his hands had trembled when they touched my face. Then I heard the shouting. I bolted upright, heart hammering. The voices were muffled, coming from beyond the bedroom door. Dante's voice, low and controlled. And another voice, Vincent's, I thought urgent and afraid. I grabbed a sweatshirt and crept to the door, pressing my ear against it. Can't be sure it was him, Vincent was saying. Who else would it be? Dante's voice was ice. How long? Couple hours, maybe. They found the car burned out in Canarsie. No bodies, but what? A pause. There was blood, Dante. A lot of it. My hand flew to my mouth. Marco? Dante asked. And for the first time I heard genuine emotion crack through his control. Fear. Alive. In surgery at Methodist. But they got to him. Dante. They knew which route he'd take, which streets he'd use. Someone talked. The silence that followed was suffocating. Find them, Dante said finally. And Vincent? When you do, I want them brought to me alive. Dante. Alive. I need to know who else knows about Isla. I opened the door before I could stop myself. Both men turned. Vincent looked shocked. Dante looked haunted. You should be sleeping, he said. What happened to Marco? My voice was steadier than I felt. Dante exchanged a look with Vincent. Some silent communication I couldn't read. Then Vincent nodded and left. The apartment door closing softly behind him. We were alone. Marco was attacked early this morning, Dante said. Shot twice. He's alive. But... He stopped, jaw clenching. He was heading to your sister's place, to check on her. Make sure Marcus hadn't tried to use her to get to you. The floor tilted beneath me. My sister is fine. She wasn't home. But Marco walking into an ambush outside her building? That wasn't coincidence, Isla. Someone knew he'd be there. Marcus, maybe. Or someone Marcus talked to. Dante ran a hand through his hair, the first uncontrolled gesture I'd ever seen him make. This is escalating faster than I anticipated. Because of me. No. He crossed the room in 3 strides, gripping my shoulders. Not because of you. Because Marcus is more connected than I thought. Or more stupid. Probably both. Marco got hurt protecting me. Marco got hurt doing his job. That's not the same thing. I pulled away from him. You said I'd be safe. I said I'd protect you. And I am. His voice rose, sharp with something raw. But I can't control everything, Isla. I can't be everywhere at once. And I can't... He stopped, turning away. I can't lose anyone else. The words hung between us, heavy with meaning. Who did you lose? I asked softly. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, my mother, when I was 17. A rival family sent a message by putting a bullet in her head while she was buying groceries. Oh God, my father drank himself to death 2 years later, and my sister, his voice broke. Elena was 20 when she overdosed. She couldn't handle the life, couldn't handle what our name meant. So she found another way out. I moved toward him, but he held up a hand. Don't, he said. Don't come closer. Because if you touch me right now, I'll... What? He turned to face me, and the look in his eyes stole my breath. Grief, rage, longing. I'll break, and I can't afford to break, Isla. Not now. Not when people are hunting for weaknesses. I'm not a weakness. Yes, you are. He said it so quietly, so hopelessly. You're the biggest weakness I've ever had. I closed the distance between us anyway, placing my hands on his chest. I felt his heart hammering beneath my palms, felt the tremor running through him. Then let me be your strength too, I whispered. Something in him shattered. Dante pulled me against him so hard it hurt, burying his face in my hair. His whole body shook with the force of whatever he'd been holding back, and I realized he was crying silent, devastating tears that soaked into my shoulder. I held him. Just held him while he fell apart in my arms, this powerful, terrifying man who'd built an empire on being untouchable. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so goddamn sorry. I should have been more careful. Should have anticipated. Shh. I ran my fingers through his hair. Marco's alive. I'm alive. We're okay. For now. For now is all we have. He pulled back slightly, his eyes red-rimmed, his face raw with emotion. I need to end this. Today. How? By doing what I should have done from the beginning. His jaw set, that cold control sliding back into place like armor. I'm going to find Marcus, and I'm going to make sure he understands that some lines once crossed can't be uncrossed. Fear lanced through me. Dante, I'm not going to kill him, he said, reading my expression. Though God knows I want to. But I am going to make certain he never comes near you again. That he never even thinks your name without remembering what it cost him. What if he has people? What if this is bigger than just him? Then I'll burn it all down. He cupped my face, his thumbs brushing away tears I didn't realize I'd shed. I told you I'd protect you, Isla. And I keep my promises. He kissed me then hard, desperate. A claim and a goodbye. When he pulled away, his eyes were clear again. Focused. Dangerous. Stay here, he said. Vincent will be outside the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. When will you be back? Tonight. Or never. My heart stopped. Dante. If I don't come back, Vincent will take you somewhere safe. Somewhere my enemies can't find you. You'll have money, protection, a new life. I don't want a new life, I said fiercely. I want you to come back. He smiled, sad and beautiful. Then pray I'm as good as I think I am. And then he was gone, leaving me alone in the safe house with the taste of his tears on my lips and the terrible certainty that everything was about to change. The hours crawled by like years. I paced the safe house, my phone clutched in my hand, even though Dante had taken it too easy to track, and left me with a burner that only had 2 numbers programmed in. His and Vincent's. Neither of them called. Outside, the city moved through its rhythms. I heard sirens twice, each time making my stomach clench. Heard voices in the hallway that turned out to be neighbors. Heard my own heartbeat so loud it drowned out everything else. At 3 in the afternoon, my burner buzzed. Still breathing. Complications. D. I stared at the message until my eyes burned. Complications could mean anything. Could mean everything. I typed back, "Come home." The response came immediately. Soon. At 6, Vincent knocked 3 short raps, then 2 long, the pattern Dante had told me to listen for. I opened the door to find him looking worse than this morning. Blood on his sleeve, a cut above his eye. Is he alive? Vincent said quickly. But you need to come with me. Now. Where? Hospital. He's asking for you. My heart stopped. How bad? Bad enough that he's asking for you instead of handling business. Vincent's expression was grim. Come on. We don't have much time. The drive to Methodist took 20 minutes through traffic that seemed designed to torture me. Vincent drove in silence, his jaw tight, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. What happened? I finally asked. Dante found Marcus. And Marcus wasn't alone. Vincent took a corner too fast. They were waiting for him. 6 men. All armed. It was a setup. Oh God. Dante took down 4 of them before he went down. Marco, despite being shot twice yesterday, took out the other 2 from a 2nd-floor window. Vincent's voice held a grudging respect. Your boy fights like the devil himself. And Marcus? Vincent's smile was cold. Marcus is in the morgue. The words hit me like a physical blow. Dante killed him. Dante defended himself. There's a difference. Vincent pulled into the hospital parking garage. The cops are calling it gang violence. Self-defense. They won't press charges not against Dante. He owns half the precinct anyway. We took an elevator to the 4th floor, Vincent leading me through hallways that smelled like antiseptic and fear. He stopped outside a private room with 2 men standing guard, both armed, both watching everyone who passed. 10 minutes, Vincent said. Then the doctors are kicking everyone out. He needs surgery to remove the bullet fragments. Bullet fragments. But Vincent was already opening the door. Dante lay in the hospital bed, his skin too pale against the white sheets, an IV in his arm, and monitors beeping steadily beside him. His chest was bandaged, his left shoulder wrapped in gauze already seeping red, but his eyes were open. Alert. Isla. His voice was rough, strained. You shouldn't be here. I was at his bedside before I could think. You said you'd come back. I am back. You're shot. Just twice. He tried to smile, winced. Marco's still beating me. He got shot 3 times total. This isn't funny. No, he agreed. It's really not. I sank into the chair beside his bed, taking his hand carefully. His fingers closed around mine, still strong, still steady despite everything. Marcus? I asked, though I already knew. Dead. He pulled a gun, aimed it at my chest. I was faster. Dante's eyes searched mine. Are you angry? I don't know what I am. The truth spilled out. He was going to kill you, but he's still dead because of me. And you're lying in a hospital bed because of me. And Marco almost died because of me. And I... Stop. Dante pulled me closer, ignoring the way it made him grimace. None of this is because of you. It's because Marcus was a violent coward who thought he owned you. And when someone more powerful told him he didn't, he escalated. His thumb brushed across my knuckles. You didn't pull the trigger, Isla. You didn't set up the ambush. You didn't start this. But I can't finish it either. It's already finished. His eyes held mine. Marcus is dead. His associates scattered. Paolo's people are cleaning up the last of it. By tomorrow, it'll be like it never happened. Except, you'll still have bullet holes. Scars, he corrected. They'll match the others. I looked at him, this man who'd killed for me, bled for me, broken apart in my arms, and put himself back together with steel and will. You could have died. But I didn't. You could have. Isla, I can't do this. The words broke free before I could stop them. I can't be the reason you die. I can't be the weakness that gets you killed. Something flickered in his eyes, hurt, maybe, or understanding. So what are you saying? I'm saying maybe Paolo was right. Maybe this us is too dangerous. And maybe, Dante said quietly, dangerous is the only thing worth fighting for. He pulled me down gentle despite the pain it must have caused and kissed me. Slow and deep, and tasting like blood and antiseptic, and something that felt dangerously close to forever. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. I love you, he whispered. I know it's too soon. I know it's insane. But I've never felt anything this real in my entire life, and I'll be damned if I let fear take it away from me. Tears spilled down my cheeks. You can't love me. You don't even know me. I know you ran into a Mafia war for your freedom. I know you held me while I fell apart. I know you're the bravest person I've ever met. His hand cupped my face. And I know that if loving you is the mistake that finally kills me, I'll die grateful. Dante. The door opened. A doctor in scrubs stepped in, looking apologetic. I'm sorry, but we need to prep him for surgery. I stood, but Dante held my hand tight. Will you be here when I wake up? He asked. I looked at this impossible, beautiful man, who'd saved me and ruined me in equal measure. Yes, I whispered. I'll be here. Promise me. I promise. He smiled. Then let me go. The surgery took 4 hours. I sat in the waiting room with Vincent and 3 other men whose names I didn't know, watching the clock tick forward with agonizing slowness. Every time the surgical doors opened, my heart stopped. Every time it was someone else's doctor, someone else's news. Vincent brought me coffee I didn't drink, offered me food I couldn't eat. He's survived worse, he said finally, breaking the silence. Has he? Stabbing in Naples, explosion in Queens, got thrown off a 2nd-story balcony once, and walked away with a concussion and broken ribs. Vincent leaned back in his chair. Dante's hard to kill. That's not as comforting as you think it is. He almost smiled. He really loves you, you know. I've worked for him for 8 years. Never seen him like this. Like what? Human. Vincent studied me. He's always been fair, always been smart, but he's also been cold, calculating. Since his sister died, it's like he shut off the part of himself that could feel anything beyond anger. He paused. Until you. I didn't mean to. I know. That's what makes it real. Vincent's phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned, typed something back. The Rossis are asking questions. About what happens next. About whether Dante's still fit to lead after this. Ice flooded my veins. What does that mean? It means Paolo sees weakness. And in our world, weakness gets you killed or replaced. He met my eyes. They're wondering if Dante's judgment is compromised. If being in love makes him vulnerable, so I am a weakness. You're a choice. Vincent leaned forward. And Dante chose you over everything else. Over safety, over strategy, over the empire he spent 15 years building. His expression was unreadable. The question is whether you're going to choose him back. Before I could answer, the surgical doors opened. A doctor in scrubs approached, pulling down her mask. Family of Dante Caruso? I stood so fast I nearly fell. How is he? Stable. We removed all the bullet fragments. No major organ damage, though he lost a lot of blood. He's lucky another inch to the right, and we'd be having a very different conversation. She glanced at her tablet. He's in recovery now. Sedated. But he should wake within the hour. You can see him, but only one person at a time. Vincent nodded to me. Go. They'd moved Dante to a different room, still private, still guarded. The lights were dimmed, machines beeping softly in the darkness. He looked smaller somehow, lying there with tubes and wires connecting him to monitors, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen him. I pulled a chair close to his bed and took his hand. You better wake up, I whispered. Because I have things to say to you, and I'm only saying them once. His fingers twitched slightly in mine. Not conscious yet, but getting there. I watched his chest rise and fall, steady and strong despite everything. Watched the monitors track his heartbeat, his oxygen levels, all the clinical measurements of a life I'd almost lost. I'm terrified of you, I said quietly. Not because you're violent or dangerous or because you run the Mafia. I'm terrified because you make me want things I swore I'd never want again. Trust, partnership, love. My voice cracked. Marcus made me believe I was broken, that I deserved the pain, that no one would ever want me if I wasn't perfect and quiet and small. Dante's eyes moved beneath his lids, responding to my voice even in sleep. But you don't want me small, I continued. You want me exactly as I am, scared and stubborn and complicated, and that's somehow more terrifying than anything else. I squeezed his hand. Because what if I'm not strong enough for this? What if I'm not brave enough to love someone who could die any day? What if you are? My head snapped up. Dante's eyes were open, groggy, unfocused, but unmistakably aware. You're awake, I breathed. Been awake for the last minute. His voice was rough, drugged. Wanted to hear what you'd say when you thought I couldn't hear you. Heat flooded my face. That's not fair. Never said I was fair. He tried to smile, grimaced. You said you had things to tell me. I said I'd tell you when you woke up. I'm awake. I looked at him, this impossible man who'd literally taken bullets for me. Vincent said the Rosses think you're compromised. That loving me makes you weak. Vincent talks too much. Is it true? That I love you? Yes. Dante's fingers tightened on mine. That it makes me weak? No. It makes me more dangerous than I've ever been. How? Because now I have something worth protecting that isn't just power or territory or revenge. His eyes held mine. Before you, I had nothing to lose. I could take risks because death didn't scare me. But now? He brought my hand to his lips, kissed my knuckles. Now I have everything to lose. And that makes me willing to burn down anyone who threatens it. That's not comforting. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be the truth. He pulled me closer, ignoring the way it made the monitors beep faster. I'm asking you to choose this, Isla, to choose me. Not because it's safe or smart or easy, but because it's real. Tears spilled down my cheeks. I'm still scared. Good. So am I. He wiped my tears with his thumb. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. I leaned down and kissed him soft, careful, tasting like salt and promises. When I pulled back, his eyes were clearer, focused. I choose you, I whispered. God help me. I choose you. Dante smiled, genuine, devastating, real. God help us both. Outside, the sun was setting over Brooklyn. Inside, machines beeped steadily, marking the rhythm of a heart that had almost stopped beating. And somewhere between the fear and the choice, I felt something shift inside me, something that felt dangerously like hope. 3 months later, I stood in front of the mirror in Dante's penthouse, our penthouse now adjusting the necklace he'd given me last week. A single diamond on a platinum chain. Simple, elegant, expensive enough to buy a car. You don't have to come tonight, Dante said from the doorway. He wore a black suit, perfectly tailored, his shoulder fully healed now, except for the scar that matched all his others. Yes, I do. I turned to face him. We agreed. No more hiding. After Dante was released from the hospital, everything changed. The Rossis had questioned his leadership, just like Vincent predicted. But instead of stepping back, Dante had doubled down. He'd called a meeting of all 5 families and made it clear. I wasn't a weakness. I was a line in the sand. Anyone who touched me answered to him. 3 families had accepted it immediately. One had tried to test it, sent someone to follow me to the grocery store. Just watching, just making a point. That family no longer operated in New York. You look beautiful, Dante said, crossing the room. His hand settled on my waist, warm and possessive. But you always do. Charmer. Truth teller. He kissed my temple. Are you ready for this? Tonight was the annual gathering, a formal dinner, where all the major players came together under a truce to discuss territory, settle disputes, and maintain the delicate balance that kept the city from tearing itself apart. It would be my first time attending as Dante's official partner. I'm ready, I said, though my hands shook slightly as I picked up my clutch. The venue was a historic mansion in Staten Island, all marble columns and crystal chandeliers. Cars lined the circular driveway, Bentleys, Maseratis, armored SUVs, men in suits stood at every entrance, weapons barely concealed. Dante kept his hand on my lower back as we entered, a subtle claim that everyone noticed. The reactions were immediate. Some nodded respectfully. Others stared with barely concealed curiosity. A few looked at me like I was a puzzle they couldn't solve. How had a girl who'd run from an abusive boyfriend ended up at the right hand of the most powerful man in the city? I kept my head high and my expression neutral, the way Dante had taught me. Dante. Paolo appeared, wineglass in hand. And Miss Rivera. How lovely to see you again, Paolo. Dante's voice was cordial but cold. Thank you for hosting. Of course. Paolo's eyes slid to me. I hope you're settling in well. This life can be overwhelming for those not born to it. I'm learning, I said evenly. Indeed, Paolo smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Come, dinner is about to be served. The dining room seated 40 people at a table that seemed to stretch forever. Dante and I were positioned near the head, a place of honor that didn't go unnoticed. Throughout dinner, I felt eyes on me, assessing, judging, waiting for me to make a mistake. I didn't give them one. I smiled when appropriate, spoke when spoken to, laughed at jokes that weren't funny, and pretended not to notice when conversations shifted to business that officially I wasn't supposed to understand. But I did understand. 3 months with Dante had taught me the language of power, the subtle threats, the coded promises, the way territory was negotiated over pasta and wine. Halfway through dessert, a woman approached our end of the table. She was striking tall, dark hair, wearing a dress that cost more than my old apartment. She smiled at Dante with the easy familiarity of someone who'd known him a long time. Dante. It's been too long. Adriana. Dante stood, kissed both her cheeks in the European style. I didn't know you were back in the city. Just for tonight. Father insisted. Her eyes cut to me, appraising. And who is this? Isla Rivera, Dante said, his hand finding mine. My partner. The word hung in the air. Not girlfriend, not lover. Partner. Equal. Adriana's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. How modern of you, Dante. I remember when you had very different ideas about women in business. People change, Dante said coolly. Apparently. Adriana's gaze lingered on me. Well, it was lovely to meet you, Isla. I hope you survive the season. She walked away before I could respond, leaving ice in her wake. Ex? I asked quietly. Briefly. Years ago. Dante squeezed my hand. She's not important. But I saw the way people watched us after that exchange. Saw the wheels turning, the calculations being made. After dinner, Dante was pulled into a private meeting with the other family heads. Vincent stayed with me in the main hall, where I nursed a glass of champagne and tried not to think about what they were discussing. You did well tonight, Vincent said. Better than well. You looked like you belonged there. I don't belong there. Not yet, but you will. He gestured around the room. This world, it's not about blood anymore. It's about who you choose to stand beside. And Dante chose you. That makes you family. Even though I'm a liability, you're only a liability if you make him weak. Vincent met my eyes. Do you? I thought about Dante in the hospital, telling me he loved me. Thought about the way he'd restructured his entire operation to keep me safe. Thought about how he'd forced the 5 families to recognize me not as a victim or a trophy, but as someone who mattered. No, I said firmly. I don't make him weak. Then you'll survive. Vincent raised his glass. Welcome to the family, Isla. An hour later, Dante emerged from the meeting, his expression unreadable. He found me immediately, crossing the room in long strides. We're leaving, he said. Is everything okay? Everything's perfect. He smiled that rare, genuine smile that still made my heart stutter. They've accepted you. Officially. You're under the protection of all 5 families now, not just mine. What does that mean? It means, Dante said, pulling me close, that you're untouchable. It means anyone who comes after you answers to everyone. And it means, he kissed me softly, that we won. Outside, the car was waiting. Vincent held the door open, a slight smile on his face. As we drove away from the mansion, Dante's hand found mine in the darkness. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For choosing this. For choosing me. For being brave enough to love someone like me. I laced my fingers through his. Thank you for being worth the risk. The city lights blurred past the window as we headed home to our penthouse, our life, our empire, built from the ashes of everything we'd survived. It wasn't safe. It wasn't simple, but it was ours. And that was enough.